So this is my second invasion. It's my second year of skydiving. So I know that a lot of new male skydivers get upset that new female skydivers get free coaching. And it's true, I do get a lot of free coaching. But it's not because I'm a woman, it's because I'm a moron. Yeah, which is actually way better. You don't want free coaching from a meat missile who wants to take your clothes off. You do want free coaching from someone who doesn't want to take your clothes off in the landing area to check your injuries. People will watch me land and tell me I should take a canopy course. And I have. I've actually taken 3 canopy courses with Kurt and Jeannie Bartholomew. Yeah. And all I've gotten out of them are dirty looks from Minnie. Even the dog in that family is like, Jesus Christ, woman, just finish your flare. It's not complicated. So if you're embarrassed about some of your landings, don't worry. I'm sure some of my landings have been way worse. I once landed so badly I got heckled by a tandem student. It's not a joke, that actually happened. And that wasn't even the worst of it. I once landed so badly, I had to get my reserve repacked. Yeah. Paid $30 cash just to get road rash and whiplash, and my closing loop was trash. So Sebastian is my home drop zone. But I'm not a Florida native. I moved down here from up north. And I have to say, even after 3 years, I'm still surprised every time Floridas. Like the other day, I was walking down the street. I saw a guy wearing a shirt that said, "I heart sluts" in giant letters. And he was holding a toddler's hand. You know, so back in Chicago, I'd be a little alarmed, start looking up local Amber Alerts. But down here, it's totally normal. He's just an upstanding father fulfilling his duties. Daddy, what's a slut? Your mom, baby. That's why I love her. South Florida is also full of rehab centers. If any of you aren't aware, it adds some spice to the dating pool. My last boyfriend actually moved here specifically for court-ordered rehab. And don't get me wrong, going to rehab is amazing. It's the court-ordered part that should have been the red flag. This man had more photos on mugshots.com than on Instagram. You know, most of his arrests were for run-of-the-mill stuff, you know, DUIs, public intoxication. But he had one arrest for prowling, which I think is a strange thing to get arrested for. It's basically the police officer coming up to you and saying, "Sir, please come with us. You're giving off an illegal vibe." Florida's also home to Disney World. Do we have any Disney fans in the house? All right, a couple. So a friend of mine is a Disney adult. So he goes to Disney World several times a year. And he never rides any rides, which is pretty weird. I think going to Disney World and not riding any rides is like going to an orgy and just rubbing one out in the corner by yourself. At that point, just stay at home and watch Toy Story. What do you think? Driving in South Florida is pretty crazy. But I think it did prepare me really well for skydiving. There's a lot of similarities. You know, you gotta keep your head on a swivel. You don't want to do it in the rain, and nobody uses a turn signal. I'm not currently in therapy, although a lot of my friends say I probably should be. Have you ever noticed it's always your most fucked up train wreck friends who push therapy on you the hardest? They're like, "I love my therapist, I've been seeing her for years, I'll get you a referral." Like, no thank you, that's not a glowing endorsement. Getting a therapist recommendation from your train wreck of a friend is like getting a nutritionist recommendation from Steve Jobs. It won't go well. But I was in therapy for a really long time, and I tried a lot of different types of therapy. I tried CBT, ACT, EMDR, but it wasn't until I found THC, LSD, and MDMA that things turned around. So doing that when your body is on fire, you stop, drop, and roll. When your brain is on fire, you stop, trip, and roll. Been setting some goals. I wrote out a bucket list the other day. Half the things on it are just drugs I haven't tried yet. But I don't think it's drugs are the problem in society. I really just think it's dumb people who are the problem. Because dumb people will get high and try to steal your TV, but smart people will get high and invent Tesla. People benefit from drug use all the time and they have no idea. Like, speaking of Disney World, it was basically just built by the guys in your high school who were growing shrooms in their closet. Yeah, Epcot is just the world's biggest cake. But you do have to be careful with your drugs now, though. The fentanyl situation is a little scary. And I have to say, I tried fentanyl once, and it definitely lived up to the hype. Yeah. I paid $600 for the best nap of my life. And you're probably thinking $600 sounds like a lot for a shot of fentanyl, but it did come with a free abortion. I had the honor of trip sitting for my father's first psychedelic experience recently, actually. Yeah, it was really sweet. I played all of his favorite music and we shared some stories, about growing up. And he had the best setting for it because he was in hospice. He was in a coma. The trip was so good he never came back. And the whole experience of hospice was actually really fascinating to watch. The hospice nurse gave my dad a huge dose of Ativan to get rid of his anxiety. But I think not having anxiety for the first time in 84 years is what finally killed him. And after a parent dies, you have to go through all of their belongings. It's pretty overwhelming. But you can find some really interesting stuff. After my dad died, I went through his office and I found a huge stack of vintage VHS tapes. There we go. Kind that might be worth something to a certain kind of collector. So I put them aside, and a few weeks later, I went back, and my brother had gone through the same office, and I couldn't find the VHS tapes. And I do not know how to ask my brother where my dad's porn is. My first thought was, oh my God, I hope he didn't get rid of them. And then my second thought was, oh dear God, I hope he got rid of them. But it's never too late for some father-son bonding, I guess. Who am I to be here? My mom now is 81 and a widow. I have power of attorney for her, so my worst fear has come true. I am my mother. And she's not doing great. She's disabled, she's in a lot of pain. She keeps asking me to help her die, but kind of like a reverse abortion. I tried poking her with a clothes hanger, but it didn't work. I was investigating death with dignity acts. Florida does not have a death with dignity act. That's the legislation that allows compassionate euthanasia. So between that and the 6-week abortion ban, it's kind of like the state does not want you to kill your family at all. And my parents are obviously lucky to have lived as long as they did, into their 80s. But I kind of think that dying of old age is like the tail end of an acid trip. Just like, well, that was an amazing time, but it would be awesome if I could go to sleep right now. I'm actually celebrating a sobriety milestone today. Yeah, it's been 1 month since my last fuckboy. And I have to say, I'm kind of jealous of fuckboys. They're such simple creatures. I was laying in bed next to this guy once, and I asked him every man's favorite question. What are you thinking about? And all he said was, waves. I'm laying there stressing about 100 different things. What color should I paint my house? How can I care for my aging mother? Is a hot dog a sandwich? And this man's brain is just a Windows screensaver. And, fuckboys, they do serve an important function in society. You know how your iPhone has that SOS feature where if you hit the button 5 times, it calls 911 for you? I think your vibrator needs the same function, but instead of 911, it calls an emergency fuckboy service. Like, ma'am, hello, we just received notice this vibrator has been used 5 times today. Is there an emergency? Oh, you're 37, single, and ovulating? Okay, yeah, that's an emergency. Just hang tight, we've got a bald skateboarder with stick and poke tattoos on his way to you. Help is on the way. I used to think I was into really extreme guys, like the skateboarders and the rock climbers or the skydivers. But it turns out I'm just into guys with traumatic brain injuries. Yeah, they're really cute. They call you babe on the first date because they can't remember your name. After the third date, they can't remember you at all. But I don't tolerate getting ghosted anymore, though. I think it's really rude. You can be a man and tell me straight to my phone that you don't want to see me anymore. I've actually dated a few skydivers now. None of them have gotten emotionally attached to me. But I do give everyone on the plane separation anxiety when I'm setting up at the door. Speaking of vibrators, I think it's really weird how no matter what brand your vibrator is, they all have those same weird settings. Like they all have bzz, 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 or bzz, bzz. And nobody uses any of those weird settings, right? There's only one setting that any vibrator needs. It's usually the 3rd setting. Turn your vibrator on. Bzz. And that's the only one you do. Sometimes you hit the button by accident, you get bzz, bzz, bzz. You gotta keep hitting the button to get back to the good one. Like you're scrolling through daytime television, just looking for Judge Judy. You keep passing all these soap operas. You're like, who's watching these? These are terrible. That's all you need. All right, guys, thank you so much.